Ike is a magician in the demon army who has demonstrated such incredible power and talent that he has been elevated to commander. In the war-torn regions in this realm, he commands his warriors on the battlefield while strategizing how to knock down the formidable fort of Arsenum. Humans and monsters slaughter each other by the hundreds on the battlefield, vying for mastery over the other race, while Ike stands on a rock and observes the carnage. After a protracted battle, they finally smash through the castle's main gate and enter. But the humans do not back down, fighting fiercely and sacrificing their lives to protect their stronghold. The Lord Commander of the humans observes the action from his windows, secure within the castle. When Ike suddenly decides to pay him a visit since he does not want to lose so many lives, the commander turns around and appears to know Ike right away, since his stories are widely circulated. Ike admits that he is the leader of the 7th Legion of the Demon King Army, also known as the Immortal Brigade. He continues to offer the commander 3 potential alternatives. He informs the commander that he may surrender peacefully and become a prisoner of war. He can commit suicide to defend his honor, or if he lacks respect, he can just climb out the window and flee. The commander smirks at him before declaring that he will not accept any of the possibilities presented by a traitor to his own people. He rushes forward with his sword to strike, but it is ineffective, as Ike knocks him out cold on the floor with a single sweep of his wand. Piggy, his personal assistant, enters unexpectedly and inquires as to what should be done with the prisoners of war. Ike turns around and orders him to cure the commander as well as anybody who surrenders without a struggle, startling Piggy and a suspiciously gorgeous woman who watches him via a crystal ball and appears impressed by his ability to conquer such an important fortress with a single brigade. After that, Ike creates a magical barrier over the entire place, preventing anybody from entering the battlefield, while looking outside to witness the demons treating innumerable human losses and injuries. He feels horrible about witnessing these horrors and has never liked the way war works. But he has no option but to battle indefinitely, something he is unaccustomed to because he is a human disguised as a demon. He was abandoned at birth, but a demon wizard named Romberg decided to take him in on a whim. Romberg was an incredible magician and instructor who frequently spoke about a period when humans and demons could coexist. Romberg taught him everything he knew about magic, and before dying, he summoned him to his chamber and instructed him to always wear the mask and the robe. As if the Demon King discovers that he is not a demon, he will be tortured and executed instantly. Ike sits down in the chair to rest after placing a magical field around the area to prevent anybody from entering without his permission, but he spots a scared maid beneath the table, who instantly begins apologizing and sobbing, saying she didn't see anything. She ends up striking her head on the table and passing out as Ike wonders how to cope with the situation. He chooses to think about it later, while Piggy invites him outside and they walk through the streets, viewing the devastation created by the war. The Piggy questions why Ike spares so many humans. Ike curtly responds that the current Demon King is only concerned with the outcomes, not how they are achieved. However, Piggy states that many demons believe Ike is too kind with humans and that it would be better if they slaughtered all of the citizens and set fire to the streets. Ike refuses to do anything like this, telling Piggy that people must pay taxes because war is expensive. Furthermore, Arsenum is a commerce city and humans are required to maintain it. The huge Piggy appears to be confused as Ike comes to a halt as a group of humans approaches. Piggy instantly cautions them and tells them to piss off, but Ike instructs them to say anything they want. One of the locals inquires as to how much more tax they will be required to pay to the demon army, to their astonishment. Ike informs them that taxes will remain the same as before, which makes them delighted. However, he cautions them that if they attempt to defy the soldiers, they would be punished. While he was saying this, he vanished in a dazzling light, shocking Piggy. Ike is horrified when he finds himself in a dark dungeon and is quickly assaulted by a gigantic monster. He dodges the punch and flees, swearing at the unknown woman that she shouldn't have called him in like this. The demon continues to assault him, so he produces a wand from his ass and executes a specific magic strike to defeat it. Immediately, the lady appears alongside him and swears that she last saw him as a child hiding behind Romberg. She states that the golem was also fairly powerful, implying that Ike has become even stronger. Sapphiro is Ike's supervisor and the only demon that is aware of his secret. He warns her not to call him like this, but she insists that it is more fun that way. He asks whether he's come to report on the war effort, but she declines, stating she witnessed everything and that his execution was immaculate. She ultimately admits that the Demon King wished to meet him once. This surprises him because a Demon King does not need to meet with a brigade leader. He inquires about the capture, but Sapphiro responds that the Demon King may only be interested in how he took Arsenum in a week. She instructs him to prepare and then teleports them to the Demon King's fortress. This is his first time seeing the castle, and he is surprised by its size. They approach towards the main entrance, which is guarded by a horde of demons, and Ike asks Sapphiro if he will be examined before entering. Sapphira responds that the Demon King is the most important person in their realm, and of course the guards inspect everyone. This makes Ike worried since he cannot let his identity be known, but she assures him not to worry. Surprisingly, as soon as the guards see him, they are overcome by his magical aura and quickly step aside, claiming that they expected nothing less from the grandson of the legendary magician Romberg. They both enter the corridor and begin walking, with Sapphira flying beside him. He considers how, despite knowing how to fly, he is not quite as skilled as her. They finally arrive at the courthouse, where Sapphira instructs him to wait since she will enter first and summon him. While she is gone, he considers how the current Demon King, Darrow, is renowned to be both skilled and vicious. According to him, humanity were winning the fight until the current Demon King altered everything in one battle. He is known to be merciless to unskilled individuals, but he also rewards anybody who demonstrates brilliance and competency, regardless of whether they are from a well-known demon nobility or an ordinary person. Ike had been longing to see him for a long time, and he is ready to say something to him when Sapphira interrupts his thoughts and beckons him inside. He approaches the courtroom with his head lowered, but the biggest shock of his life comes when he puts his head up to find a female seated on the throne. Like any other sexist, he assumes she is the Demon King's daughter, but he quickly sees his mistake and bends down to her. She looks at him and says it is astonishing that he was able to take Arsenum in just a week. Ike instantly bows down, claiming that he was only obeying Sapphira's orders. Darrow observes this right away and notes on how he responds just like a person would. Ike recognizes he needs to tone down his humility, but happily, Sapphira comes to his rescue and informs Darrow that Ike is Romberg's grandson. Darrow grins, indicating that she understands where Ike gets his war tactics, but she continues to question why he is so focused on ensuring that none of the humans die until absolutely necessary. He quickly becomes concerned, thinking that he should have executed a few of them, but realizes that he cannot do it to an innocent person. He chooses to speak out, telling her that people are scared of demons, but fear does not breed loyalty or efficiency. He says that regardless of who governs the region, folks would follow someone who is competent and can assist them improve their circumstances. The Demon King is pleased, and she instantly teleports in front of him, declaring that he is truly unique among demons and expressing her want to see the true face behind that mask before departing the court. Ike quickly falls to the ground, afraid, and breathes a sigh of relief, telling Sapphira that terrible things are bad for his heart. Sapphira advises him to cheer up since death has decided to reward him, and he is meant to rule over the city of Arsenum. He instantly teleports back to the castle in Arsenum, where he discovers the maid sleeping on his chair, but she quickly rises and begins apologizing. He assures her not to worry since he would not injure her and asks for her name. She calls herself 13 and says that all slaves are assigned numbers rather than names. She states that her true name was Sadi before she became a slave, so Ike chooses to call her by that name solely. He informs her that she has already seen his actual identity, hence he cannot let her go. When she hears this, she rushes on him and begins weeping, but he begs her to calm down since he is not going to murder her. He informs her that she would be his personal maid from now on, and she quickly accepts. Later that day, he walks out to assess the damage to the city and knows that they must repair the fortifications, since if the humans decide to strike, the city will fall instantly. He asks Piggy how long it will take to rebuild the defenses, and Piggy responds that if they utilize solely human labor, it should take 6 months. Ike realizes it's too long, and to Piggy's astonishment, informs him that they have 1 month to complete the task. Piggy believes that it is impossible, but Ike devises a strategy in which humans and demons collaborate. Piggy has never seen anything like this before, and he understands he is actually following a genius. Ike schedules shifts so that the job may be completed 24 hours a day, and the employees are even rewarded for their efforts, which encourages them to accomplish more. Piggy understands he is actually following a mastermind as he begins to shed tears of pleasure and considers how everyone would benefit if Ike became the new Demon King. It was nighttime when the demon army marched towards Rosaria's defenses. The Rosaria army greeted them with a rain of fire, but the demon army was so strong that they covered themselves with large stones and moved forward. The demon army managed to create a huge hole in the defense wall, creating a passage to enter the city. The demon army swarmed into the city. Hand-to-hand combat occurred between the Rosaria army and the demon army. Even with the help of human magicians, the Rosaria army couldn't hold their positions. The demon army defeated the Rosaria defense forces and took over the city. The demon lord was sitting on her throne when she received a report that the war in Rosaria was going well. She was informed of a rumor that the human army was forming an alliance to turn the tide of the war. She acknowledged this rumor, already knowing that humans come together in the face of danger. With a grin on her face, she decided to leave the task of handling this potential alliance to Ake, the demon army's 8th Corps commander. It was daytime when Ake was working at his desk. He wore his mask when Sadie, his maid, brought him refreshments. She placed the teacup on the desk slowly and asked if he was tired. She smiled when she learned that her master was fine. Ake looked deeply at Sadie when she smiled. On the other side, Alistair, the White Rose Knight's commander, had arrived. She walked in with her helmet in her hand, ready to report. The Rosaria general ensured that Alistair knew the reason she had been summoned. She already grasped the situation and understood that she had been summoned to retake Avalius. The general confirmed the order. Then she walked out with a helmet on her head. In the middle of the city, a bookmaker had set up 3 cups on a table. He was inviting people to gather around while explaining his game. The rules were simple. Point to the cup where the ball ends up, and the bookmaker will double your money. As he explained, he slid a small red ball under one of the cups, then quickly twisted the cups around, adding an air of mystery. Sadie appeared and sat in front of the bookmaker. She pointed to the cup in the center. When asked how much she would bet, she gawked because she didn't have any money. At first, the bookmaker was annoyed by her. Then he looked at her more closely, a pink-haired girl in a maid dress with oversized breasts. He couldn't deny that he wanted something from her. With a big sweat on his sleek face, he allowed her to bet. As he was about to open the cup she had bet on, suddenly the cups flew around him. He was shocked by the commotion. Sadie, with a straight face, pointed out that there was no red ball under any of the cups. The bookmaker panicked, caught red-handed cheating by the people around him. Sadie kept her straight face as the bookmaker was beaten up. Then she was dragged away by Ike. Ike scolded her, saying she should not abandon her master. Sadie apologized, explaining that there were so many new things for her that she couldn't help herself. She wondered why Ike was wearing common human clothes. He explained that they were both scouting the human army, so he couldn't wear his usual demon outfit because it would attract attention. As they walked together, they bought oranges and ate them while walking. On the street, they passed by the human army marching. This strengthened the presumption of the human army alliance. However, Ike felt something was off. The human army looked rushed. Sadie wondered as Ike mentioned the Alliance of Kings. Ike explained that it was an ancient alliance, where countries joined forces in times of danger, regardless of their own interests. Sadie took Ike's explanation with her own point of view. According to her understanding, when the demons attack, humans need to work together to fight them off. Ike confirmed and added that the alliance had been formed 3 times, and each time they managed to defeat the demon army and push them back to Dauberberg Castle. Ike assured Sadie that whether it happened again this time or not, there would be nothing to worry about. Ike thought that since Sadie was human, if the humans won the fight, Sadie would be free. But Sadie had her own perspective. In human society, the child of a slave remains a slave forever. She thought that if the demon army was defeated and Ike abandoned her, she would end up being a slave, pointing to an iron-barred carriage transporting a group of slave children. Ike reassured her once again, saying that demons and humans could have their own problems, but they just needed to do something to change that. As they continued walking, the bookmaker, who had been exposed as a cheat, called to them from a distance. This time, the bookmaker had brought a gigantic figure, a watchman, by his side. There were bruises on the bookmaker's face. He demanded money and Sadie as payment for his loss. Ike looked around, making sure nobody was nearby. Once he was certain, he took out a part of his magic staff. A light shone from his staff, and the bookmaker's watchman found his legs frozen to the ground. Ike chanted his spell, Ice Spear, and many sharp ice shards emerged around both the bookmaker and his watchman. The bookmaker, shocked and fearful, noticed that the tips of the ice shards were pointed at him. Ike walked slowly toward the bookmaker. As he got close, Ike asked about the army in the town that seemed to be in a hurry. Instead of answering the question, the bookmaker begged Ike to get rid of the ice shards. Ike remained silent as the bookmaker babbled until an ice shard stabbed his shoulder. The bookmaker apologized but still didn't want to give any information. Ike bluffed, saying there was no point in holding back, and the bookmaker changed his mind. The bookmaker told Ike that they had formed the Alliance of Kings to fight the demons, and Rosaria's army was eager to make a move before the alliance did. Ike could tell that what the bookmaker said was somehow connected to Rosaria's army's rushed movement. It was a plausible strategy. If they could win before the alliance fully formed, it would give them an advantage during strategic councils and increase their influence after the war. But if they lost, it would put Rosaria in a desperate position. After asking for the attack location, the bookmaker said there was only one plausible place, Avalius, which had a messy gate and poor defenses. After getting all the information, both Ike and Sadie left. Ike returned to his office, working at his desk, accompanied by Sadie. Suddenly, Lilith opened his office door and rushed toward him. She had been worried because she couldn't find him anywhere. Ike explained that he had been scouting and had managed to gather important information. She wasn't interested in that. Instead, she wanted to know who the girl standing beside him was. Ike introduced Sadie to Lilith. Sadie politely introduced herself. Lilith told Ike to forget about Sadie, calling her an ugly girl and suggested he take her Lilith as his maid instead. Sadie, slightly annoyed by Lilith's behavior, politely asked Lilith to move away by telling her that her master needed some rest. Lilith accused Sadie of seducing Ik. Sadie mocked Lilith politely, saying there was no way an ugly girl like her could seduce Ik. This sparked an argument between them that Ik couldn't stop. They were still arguing when Jiron showed up at the office door. On the other side, the White Rose Knights had arrived near Avalia's. As they prepared for the attack, they found it eerily quiet with no guards in sight. Just as they were ready to fire the cannon, a horde of skeleton soldiers emerged from the ground near them. The White Rose Knights remained confident in their ability to fend off the skeleton army and moved to protect the siege engineers. Suddenly, an arrow pierced one of the White Rose Knights in the chest. A group of demon archers had attacked them from the top of the hills. Amid the chaos, stronger demon soldiers appeared and attacked the White Rose Knights' troops. The White Rose Knights got dispersed, unable to hold the sudden attack, and the commander ordered her troops to retreat. Ik and Jiren watched the White Rose Knights retreat from the top of the defense wall. Jiren praised Ik for being able to predict the attack thanks to his scouting. As they had a short conversation, a sharpshooter shot an arrow at Ik, hitting him in the back. Ik fell down. Ik awoke in his bed with bandages on his body, his mask, and an arrow placed on the bedside table. Sapphira was snoring next to him. He was still in shock when Sapphira woke up. Sapphira had been taking care of Ik after he lost consciousness from the arrow wound in his back. She warned Ik that in the last fight, there were no human casualties, which was unusual for the demon army, known for slaughtering their enemies. This could make the demon lord suspicious. Ik reasoned that he was just trying to find a way for humans and demons to live together. As Sapphira took her leave, he picked up the arrow, wondering who was involved and how the sharpshooter had managed to hit him in the back. He put on his mask as he heard the door opening. Lilith stormed in, followed by Sadie. They were both worried about Ik, but quickly started arguing again. Then Jiren stepped in and threw Lilith out of the room. Lilith became angry as Jiren shut the door with her outside. Jiren sweated nervously as she banged on the door, calling him ugly. He had another bead of sweat on his face when Sadie gave him a thumbs up and called him Mr. Ugly. Ik reassured Jiren that he wasn't that ugly and ordered him to find out where the commander of the White Rose Knights was. Both of them were sweating as Lilith whined harsher and banged on the door harder. It was daytime at the human prison where Alistair, the commander of the White Rose Knights, was imprisoned for her failed attack on Avalius. Ik was alone in a forest not far from the prison. He heard Lilith's voice behind him as he looked toward the prison. Lilith tried to scare Ik, warning him about being alone in human territory. Ik explained to Lilith that he wanted to ask the White Rose Knights commander something in person, and that he had never asked Lilith to come with him. Lilith insisted on coming along and came up with many reasons to justify her presence. Ik had nothing to argue with and reluctantly allowed her to follow him. As they approached the gate, they saw only 2 guards on duty. Lilith remarked that it would be easy for her to take them down. Ik objected to Lilith's approach, wanting to infiltrate the prison as silently and quickly as possible. But it was too late. Lilith had already taken down both guards, claiming she did it quietly. They proceeded inside. The prison was large, and it would take some time to search for the commander's cell. However, Lilith quickly took care of that by beating up one of the prison guards and getting the cell location and the key. A group of prison guards then showed up to catch them. Lilith told Ik to carry on by himself while she handled the guards. Ik went to the top floor, unlocked the cell door, and found nobody inside. As he entered the cell, Alistair attempted to attack him from behind. Ik easily dodged her attack, but she didn't stop and continued attacking with her knife. Ik took out his magic staff and subdued Alistair. He asked her if she had sent the assassin to kill him. Alistair didn't answer his question. Instead, she looked at him in surprise, doubting that he was really a demon. Just then, the prison guards rushed to the top floor. As Ik's attention turned to them, Alistair's knife was already at his neck. At the prison's top floor, Ik stood with Alistair, the former commander of the White Rose Knights. Alistair had been arrested for her failure to capture Avalius. Ik intended to question her about a suspected assassination attempt, but before he could proceed, Alistair swiftly placed a knife to his neck. The sound of approaching prison guards grew louder, heightening the tension. Alistair sensed something peculiar about Ik's demeanor, suspecting he might be human rather than demon. As the guards closed in, shouting about intruders and giving rapid instructions to capture the demon, the situation became increasingly precarious. Alistair demanded to know if Ik was human. Ik remained silent. With the guards nearly upon them, Alistair held her ground, knife still at Ik's throat. As the guards reached them, they shouted commands to capture the demon. Alistair told Ik to not move. Ik complied. He didn't, but he cast a spell that affected both Alistair and the guards, causing them to stop in their movement. Alistair, bewildered, questioned what was happening, sensing that time itself had seemed to halt. Ake explained that he had dulled their senses and instructed them to remain still. With another spell, he conjured a strong wind that flung the guards away, effectively neutralizing the immediate threat. Suddenly, a gigantic guard attacked Ake with a war hammer. Ake responded with another spell, causing the floor beneath the giant to crumble. The guard plummeted toward the base floor, but was gently stopped by another of Ake's spells before reaching the ground safely. This act left Alistair puzzled about Ake's motives. In the midst of confusion, the floor below Alistair was crumbling. Alistair couldn't move his body. She fell along with the debris. As she tried to grab anything to hold on, she saw Ake flying so fast towards her. Ake managed to catch her before she hit the base floor. Alistair jumps in shock knowing that she is just being saved by Ake. Alistair could tell that Ake really didn't behave like a demon usually did. This made her suspicion that Ake is a human grow more. Ake introduced himself as the commander of the Demon Lord's 7th Army Corps. Alistair gasped at his introduction. She had failed to capture Avalias because the demon army, led by Ake, had overwhelmed her forces with their power. The same army that had defended Avalias was now led by the demon standing before her. Ake questioned Alistair about whether she had sent an assassin to kill him during the battle. Despite losing her footing, Alistair, the former commander of the White Rose Knights, retained her dignity and loyalty. She refused to answer Ake's question. As Ake moved closer, Alistair gasped, wondering what he might do to her. She backed into the wall behind her as Ake stood directly in front of her, his eyes glowing purple as he cast a mind-reading spell. Alistair trembled, uncertain of what was happening. Suddenly, Lilith, Ake's subordinate, appeared and accused him of flirting with Alistair. Ignoring Lilith's accusations, Ake continued reading Alistair's mind. Even as he finished and prepared to leave, Lilith continued to nag him. Alistair, confused by Ake's departure, asked if he had come to mock her after her defeat. Ake denied this and informed her that she had nothing to do with the assassination attempt. He advised her not to be too hard on herself. As he left, Alistair remained puzzled by his words. Lilith followed Ake, still nagging him. She wanted to go somewhere with him before they returned home, but Ake didn't listen. He opened a portal and stepped through, leaving Lilith to follow. Back in his office, Ake removed his mask, greeted by his maid, Sadie, who was waiting for him. He handed her a present, a bag of rice he had found in the capital city of Lazas. Sadie, curious about the small white grains, listened as Ake explained there was a type of food called rice. Ake elaborated on his plan to double the taxes collected from the city. He pointed out that Avalias, an agricultural city with fertile soil, primarily grew wheat. However, rice was far more productive. Sadie struggled to grasp the concept, so Ake broke it down further, explaining that more productive crops like rice would reduce the need for so many farmers. This shift would allow more people to engage in other crafts, such as making weapons or bricks, and provide services like cooking, which would in turn contribute to the country's wealth. Sadie was overwhelmed by the complexity of the explanation. Sensing her confusion, Ake reassured her and simplified his message. Growing more rice would lead to more food and increased tax revenue. Impressed by his intelligence, Sadie expressed her admiration. Ake then tasked Sadie with cooking the rice. Admitting that he had never cooked it himself, he offered the only advice he knew. First low, then high, don't remove the lid even if the baby cries. Though puzzled by the instructions, Sadie accepted the challenge, determined to support Ake in any way she could. With Sadie's assurance, Ake turned his attention to another important task awaiting him. Jiren had gathered the demon army as Ake had ordered, and Ake stood beside him, surveying the assembled troops. Jiren, curious about their purpose, asked what they were about to do. Ake, keeping his intentions hidden, reflected internally on the situation. He had pieced together that the arrow intended to kill him had originated from the enemy army, but Alistair of the White Rose Knights had no knowledge of it. This led him to suspect that someone within his ranks wanted to frame the White Rose Knights for the attack. Reluctantly, Ake concluded that there was a spy among his soldiers. Determined to uncover the traitor, Ake cast a mind-reading spell on the assembled army. As he read the thoughts of his soldiers, he noted Jiren's admiration for him, though it bordered on the obsessive. Ake silently reminded himself that Jiren needed to be more cautious with his thoughts. Methodically, Ake continued to read the minds of each soldier until one demon's thoughts betrayed him. The demon worriedly wondered if they had been discovered. Instantly, Ake teleported next to the anxious soldier and confronted him, accusing him of being a spy. The soldier trembled in fear, his guilt unmistakable. Ake visited Sapphira where she was taking a bath. Sapphira noted that it had been a while since Ake had come to see her, sensing his urgency. Ake, though accustomed to such situations, stated that he would wait outside. Sapphira didn't bother with Ake's presence at her bathroom. She asked if there had been a traitor. Ake, curious about her intuition, confirmed her suspicion. Sapphira, trusting her instincts, inquired if Ikki knew the traitor's identity. Ikki revealed that it was Jace, the one-eyed goblin, and the second in command of the 7th Corps. Sapphiro, unsurprised, admitted she had suspected Jace due to his high intelligence and veteran status. When Ikki asked for guidance on what to do next, Sapphiro stated that there was only one course of action. They would have to make Jace pay the price for his betrayal. In a city far from the demon army's base, Jace was stunned to hear that Ikki had met with Sapphiro. The news that Ikki had recovered from his injuries added to his shock. Jace questioned his subordinates, confirming that Ikki had indeed been shot through the chest. An additional report came in that their spy and Ikki's undying brigade had gone silent, suggesting they had been discovered. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Jace decided they must attack first to avoid being cornered. However, before he could proceed with his plans, he was informed that Ikki had come to see him alone. Ikki waited on the city road as Jace approached with his army. Jace, surprised by Ikki's presence, noted that Ikki should have announced his visit. Ikki replied that he was merely in the area and confirmed he had come alone. Observing Jace's sizable army, Ikki questioned if Jace intended to start a war. Jace asserted his territorial rights and mocked Ikki for his previous injury, deeming it unacceptable for a brigade commander. Ikki acknowledged the criticism, conceding he should have been more cautious, especially around potential traitors. Realizing that Jace understood the gravity of the situation, Ikki commented on the army's strength, hinting at the futility of Jace's bravado. Jace, confident in his numerical superiority, taunted Ikki, calling him a fool for thinking he could face them alone. Ikki surveyed the scene, noting the presence of Jace's soldiers. Suddenly, a meteor crashed into the city, causing an explosion that set nearby buildings ablaze. Jace and his army were momentarily stunned, their attention diverted to the darkened sky where meteors began to rain down, engulfing the city in flames. Chaos ensued as Jace's forces scattered in panic. Above the city, Sapphiro hovered, casting the devastating meteor shower. She recited ominous verses as the destruction unfolded beneath her. Recognizing Ikki's presence below, she expressed casual confidence in his safety amidst the chaos. Ikki, evading the meteors, found a secure spot, internally lamenting Sapphiro's unchecked destruction. He had previously urged her to limit her attacks to facilitate easier rebuilding, but now the price she was exacting seemed excessive. Sapphiro, undeterred, continued her onslaught, declaring her intent to ensure complete annihilation of their enemies, sparing no one. Jace crouched behind a large stone, trying to catch his breath when Ikki appeared silently behind him. The sudden presence startled him, and he knew his options were dwindling. Jace's subordinates arrived, attempting to protect him, but Ikki's powerful magic quickly scattered them. Amid the chaos, Jace seized the opportunity to flee, instructing his men to buy him time. He cursed Sapphiro, vowing revenge, and used a portal to escape to a nearby forest. Briefly pausing, he looked back at the burning city, convinced that while he might have lost the battle, the war was far from over. As Jace continued his escape, a fireball exploded near him. He turned to find Ikki, who calmly pointed out the futility of running. Ikki revealed that his familiars had been tracking Jace, ensuring his secret path was known. Enraged, Jace destroyed one of the tiny creatures and launched a desperate attack on Ikki, only for his sword to be effortlessly blocked by Ikki's magic shield. Realizing his combat skills were no match, Jace found himself thrown against a tree by Ikki's spell. Tree roots emerged, binding his hands, signaling the end of his resistance. Resigned, Jace acknowledged Ikki's superior abilities and proposed an alliance to overthrow the Demon Lord, arguing that their current leader lacked the ambition and ruthlessness that define true demons. Ikki refused the offer, prompting Jace to make one last attempt at freedom. He managed to free a hand and threw a knife at Ikki, who dodged it easily and recast the binding spell. With Jace securely restrained again, Ikki questioned him about his accomplices. Jace, grinning despite his predicament, remained cryptic, hinting at others involved in his schemes. Jace's triumphant grin quickly turned to a scream of agony. Sapphiro emerged behind Ikki, who gasped at her sudden appearance. Jace's screams intensified as his body broke out in painful rashes. Ikki, alarmed, demanded answers from Sapphiro, who assured him she had not yet acted. It became clear to Ikki that Jace had been poisoned. Despite Ikki's attempts to use an antidote spell, nothing worked. Sapphiro deduced that powerful poison had been administered, likely by Jace's own allies. She tried to persuade Jace to reveal his co-conspirators, pointing out that he had been abandoned by those he trusted. Jace, writhing in pain, began to speak, but his words were cut off as his condition worsened. Ikki felt a pang of pity for the traitor, recognizing the harsh reality of betrayal and abandonment. Sapphiro dismissed Jace's suffering as deserved and left, leaving Ikki to ponder the implications of his lingering humanity. He wondered if this moment of compassion might haunt him in the future. At the Demon Lord's castle, Ikki and Sapphiro walked together toward the Demon Lord. They had been summoned. Ikki sensed the gravity of the situation, aware that the assassination incident had escalated further. They halted their steps as they approached the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord turned to Sapphiro, asking if she knew why she had been summoned. Sapphiro confirmed, revealing that the mastermind behind the recent betrayal was Bastio, the head of the Third Corps. She explained that Bastio had recruited her vice commander and planned to eliminate not only her and Ik, but also the Demon Lord herself. The Demon Lord acknowledged Sapphiro's accusation. Addressing another presence in the room, the Demon Lord's attention shifted to a formidable figure standing before them. This warrior, clad in full-body armor, with a green blaze emanating from his neck, held his helmet in his hand. The Demon Lord turned to this armored figure, seeking his response to the serious accusations made against him. At Demon Lord Castle, Ik and Sapphiro were summoned by Demon Lord. Sapphiro was bringing accusation that the one behind the assassination attempt was Demon's army, the Third Corps leader, Bastio. Bastio was summoned to the Demon Lord's castle along with Sapphiro and Ik. Holding his helmet, he argued that it was actually Ik and Sapphiro who had killed their own vice commander in an attempt to frame him, accusing them of plotting against him to take control of the Third Corps. Sapphiro, incensed by the accusations, began to radiate a dark aura, her anger barely contained. She seemed ready to strike at any moment, but the Demon Lord intervened, urging her to calm herself. Reluctantly, she complied, though her rage simmered beneath the surface. The Demon Lord addressed the situation with a measured tone, acknowledging the inherent ambition within demons. Power, wealth, glory, and influence were coveted by all, and the pursuit of these desires was what defined them. The Demon Lord saw through Bastio's plot, recognizing the ambition driving his accusations. However, the Demon Lord also held Sapphiro accountable for failing to maintain her men's loyalty. According to the Code of Laws, both Bastio and Sapphiro should be punished, but the ongoing war with the humans necessitated a different approach. Instead of executing the two commanders, the Demon Lord decided a duel between them to resolve the matter. The winner would prove their worth, and the situation would be settled in a manner befitting demons. Ik found himself at Sapphiro's house. Sapphiro had received the details of the duel from the Demon Lord. The duel was to be fought using magical creatures known as puppets. The commanders themselves would not participate in the battle, but would act as the representatives of their teams. Each commander would command 50 puppets, and the goal was to wipe out all of the enemy's puppets. The stakes were high, as the loser would die on the spot. This was the Demon Lord's chosen method to resolve the conflict, testing their skills as commanders rather than their physical prowess. Ik questioned why they chose something so complicated instead of the simple fight. Sapphiro explained that it was the Demon Lord's decision. She believed the Demon Lord wanted to test their skills as commanders, which was unusual for demon behavior. Sapphiro then revealed that they could appoint stand-ins and had chosen Ik without hesitation. Initially, Ik accepted without much thought, but he was shocked when he realized the full implications. He suggested that Sapphiro should fight herself, even the high stakes. However, she believed that sending Ik was their best chance for victory. If the battle had been a simple fight, Sapphiro would have gone herself. However, the duel was a contest to determine who was the better commander, which suited Ik perfectly given his brilliant track record. His talents as a commander exceeded Sapphiro's. She acknowledged this and told Ik that while his skills as a commander surpassed hers, she was still the better course leader. Trusting him completely, Sapphiro entrusted Ik with her life. Ik and Jiren arrived at the designated stadium for the duel. As they surveyed the surroundings, Ik couldn't shake the weight of responsibility Sapphiro had placed on him. Jiren noticed Ik's unease and inquired if something was amiss. Ik brushed it off, remarking on the unconventional nature shared by both the Corps Commander and the Demon Lord. Inside the room filled with puppets, Jiren remarked on their unsettling faces and asked how they would be commanded in battle. Ik explained that each puppet obeyed its commander's orders precisely, with all being equally strong, thereby testing the commander's strategic skills. They also noticed an array of weapons and shields nearby. Jiren commented on their availability, seeing it as a gesture of generosity from the Demon Lord. Meanwhile, Ik's eyes fixated on a shield resting on the shelves, contemplating its potential utility in the imminent duel. In his office, Ik sat amidst a clutter of war strategy books and scripts spread across his desk. Sadie approached him with a cup of tea, offering it quietly. Ik asking Sadie about her thoughts on winning battles. She hesitated, unsure what Ik meaning. Ik posed a hypothetical scenario. If she were fighting. Sadie expressed her preference for peaceful resolutions over conflict. If she were forced to fight, she said she would use a broom, though she doubted it would harm anyone. Ik nodded thoughtfully, acknowledging her point while delving into the strategic advantages of different weapons. He explained how distance and power influence the effectiveness of weaponry, from daggers to bows. Sadie recalled her former master's admiration for crossbows, which Ik acknowledged as potent but not revolutionary enough for their needs. Suddenly animated by an idea, Aik leaned forward, eyes bright with excitement. He unveiled his plan to create guns. It's a weapons far beyond anything Sadie had heard of. Intrigued, she asked about their strength, prompting Aik to passionately describe their ability to strike from hundreds of meters away beyond an opponent's retaliation. Sadie, captivated by Aik's vision, asked if he could truly create such advanced weaponry. With unwavering confidence, Aik cited the 7th Corps commander was a formidable alchemist. He remembers that she once told him that there's nothing she can't do. Sapphira was sunbathing by the pool when Aik approached her. She mentioned there were some things she couldn't do, but appreciated the shade provided by something Aik had made. Aik, however, remembered her usual confidence and belief that she could create anything. Aik described an iron cylinder with gunpowder inside that exploded to propel a bullet, believing in her ability to make it. However, Sapphira was uninterested in his detailed explanation. Instead, she invited Aik to join her in the water. Aik had just finished his bath and was drying himself with a towel as he walked towards a table. He muttered to himself, concerned about the gravity of the situation. If he lost, Sapphira would die. As he stopped near the table, his clothes floated towards him. Without thinking, he took the clothes, gratefully thanking them. He was shocked when the Demon Lord responded to his thanks. Aik was stunned as the Demon Lord appeared before him. Panicking, he kneeled, meeting the Demon Lord without his mask and worried that his secret of being human was exposed. The Demon Lord tossed a large package in front of Aik and commanded him to open it. Aik hesitated at first, but after the Demon Lord raised her voice, he complied obediently. Inside the package were a lot of guns, exactly what Aik had been looking for. The Demon Lord revealed that she knew he was human. Romberg had told her that he had given all his knowledge and magic to Aik, and that Aik was human. The Demon Lord explained her motives for not killing Aik despite knowing his true nature. She needed people who would fight for her to achieve her dreams and her vision of the world she desired. She then demanded Aik's answer. With a determined mind, Aik pledged his loyalty. The Demon Lord then teleported away. Meanwhile, at the castle of the 3rd Corps, Bastia was in conversation with his subordinates. One of them mentioned the rumor that Aik, the commander of the Undying Brigade of the 7th Corps, would be sent to face them. He suggested that perhaps Sapphira was afraid of Bastio. Bastio, contemplating the situation, acknowledged that Sapphira, the 7th Corps commander, must have some plan. He admired the sword he held, noting its craftsmanship. His subordinate explained that the sword was made from the fangs of a black dragon and could cut through anything. Bastio expressed his approval, and his subordinate offered to have enough swords made for the puppets immediately. However, Bastio demanded more, surprising his subordinate. Another subordinate approached, reporting his return. Bastio inquired about the progress, and the subordinate expressed confidence in their victory. Bastio, assured of his own success, reaffirmed his certainty. Aik brought the newly acquired guns to Sapphira, accompanied by Jiren. Sapphira examined the guns, noting their unfamiliar design and feeling confused about the Demon Lord's motives for providing them. She asked if the bullets were to be made out of lead. Using her magic, she created a large ball of lead. Aik explained that the bullets needed to be smaller to fit the gun barrel. Though she didn't like working with such detail, she did it anyway, manipulating the lead with her magic. Aik was a little worried that she didn't fully grasp the gravity of the situation. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the room, destroying the wall near Jiren and leaving a gaping hole. Jiren, shocked, asked what had happened. Sapphira, sensing no magic, inquired if it was Aik's doing. Aik acknowledged that it was. Just then, Fiorentina, Aik's subordinate, appeared through the hole in the wall. She reported that they had successfully created what Aik had requested. Aik praised her for the work and explained that the mixture of charcoal, sulfur, and saltpeter, known as gunpowder, was responsible for the explosion. He then turned to Sapphira and asked for bullets. Sapphira handed him 2 small balls of lead. Aik asked Sapphira to create 500 more, but Sapphira declined Aik's request. She looked at Fiorentina, indicating that Fiorentina should handle it instead. Sapphira didn't like detailed work because it was bad for her skin. Then she left. Aik looked at Fiorentina, apologized, and asked her to make the gunpowder and bullets. Fiorentina agreed and prepared for the task. Jiren wanted to be involved too and proposed to help. Both Aik and Fiorentina refused at the same time. The duel day arrived, and the stadium was packed with demons eager to watch the confrontation. In the center of the stadium, Aik stood before his puppets, which were equipped only with shields for defense. The Demon Lord observed from the podium above. Bastia laughed at Aik's seemingly inadequate preparation, contrasting it with his own fully armored and weaponized puppets. He mocked the absence of Sapphira, assuming she was scheming elsewhere. Confidently, Bastio donned his helmet, activating his puppets. Aik noticed that Bastio's puppets were well armed. It has Damascus steel armor, the strongest material, impenetrable by spear or arrow. Bastio, confident that Ike puppets would never land a blow on his puppets. It was a gift from the Demon Lord. Ike was not quite understand Demon Lord's intentions, as she had supplied both sides with powerful tools, guns for Ike and Damascus armor for Bastio. Ike wondered if this was a test or an attempt to ensure a fair fight. The duel began with both commanders positioned behind their armies of 50 puppets each. Bastio initiated the attack, commanding his archers to fire. Ike ordered his puppets to use their shields, successfully blocking most arrows, but some puppets were struck and falling down upon impact. Seeing success, Bastio ordered his pickmen and swordsmen to charge. The picks easily pierced Ike puppets' shields, and the swordsmen overpowered Ike's defenseless puppets. Bastio taunted Ike, accusing him of relying solely on defense. In response, Ike commanded his rear-line puppets equipped with guns to fire. The bullets struck Bastio's puppets with precision. Bastio was bewildered, as he had never encountered such weapons. Ike's puppets followed a disciplined shooting formation, alternating between firing and reloading. This continuous barrage decimated Bastio's forces, rendering them unable to retaliate. Ike glanced at the Demon Lord, who watched attentively. Her expression indicated approval. Eventually, all of Bastio's puppets were destroyed. Bastio didn't believe his puppets was beaten. The Demon Lord teleported to the stadium floor, declaring the battle over. She offered Bastio a choice: an honorable death by his own hand or death at her hands, as dark energies surrounded her. Bastio, however, had a different plan. An archer from the audience fired an arrow at the Demon Lord, which she caught effortlessly. Demon Lord was unaware the arrow was rigged with an explosive, which detonated upon impact, enveloping her in a massive explosion. Chaos erupted as more explosions occurred among the spectators. A skeleton army surged forward, forming a protective circle around Bastio. Bastio laughed, proclaiming himself the new Demon Lord. This is the end of The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army Was a Human, Episode 4. Thank you so much for staying on this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest content. See you in the next video.